No. Okay. And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. We have a great show lined up. We got Noah Rasheta is going to be on the show tonight. We're super stoked about talking about all things flying. Paraglidingtalk.com is sponsored by a bunch of different sponsors. One of the OG sponsors of the show is PPG They invented this smoke machine that you could add your paramotor. And Ryan Roberts he's an engineer and he's made all kinds of cool stuff. Well, anyways, he made the smoke machine and then added it. And so, people are flying around, messing around with the smoke. And then he was like, let's take it up a notch. And then he made it shoot out a way more smoke. And then he made some other things. He made some lamels and chase cam holders, and he made some exploding, those deals, the floats that explode when you hit water. And then he made a headset, and that headset, by the way, is they explode in the water.
I believe
it's like
be
an airbag.
Inflate.
Okay,
exploding and inflating is two different things.
Exploding flotation. They're amazing.
Exploding oxygen.
They will save your life if you hit water and you're on a paramotor, which, by the way, is very dangerous. So be careful when you go in the water. But anyways, ppgsmoke.com is the website. Go check them out. He literally invested, I did some math.
I have them and they feel solid. I do a lot of parasurfing, so it's a must.
Yeah. And he donated $15,000 worth of stuff to the show in the beginning days. So anyways, that's just a quick little plug for him. ppgsmoke.com. Go check them out. Also want to mention paramotorprops.com. Paramotorprops.com has they've cornered the market for selling props on the internet. Paramotorprops.com's website. Go check them out. Also want to mention a couple other sponsors, either new sponsors. One of them is dreamlifterparamotors.com. That is Harley Milne's training, the paramotoring training course. Now, if you don't know anything about training, now, if you're getting into the sport and you're thinking, you know what, I want to be a world record holder paramotor pilot. I'm an adventure man and I want to go on major adventures. He's the guy that you're going to want to get instruction from, because he's going to take you to that next level, because he's done some amazing things and has some world record stuff under his belt and knows what it's going to take. He's got the goods because he's done it. Dreamlifterparamotors.com. Also want to mention Andrew Fuller's inspection place that he has. So if you have a glider that needs inspection, or rips or tears, or you need something sewn, you want to step up your maybe you want to get your glider trimmed, he can do that. Their website, there's a link in the description, but it's paragliderinspection.myshopify.com. Go check that out. Links in the description and in the chat. Thank you, Paragringo. So I'm not sure if Noah forgot or what happened, but he's not here. But I do have some things that I want to talk about. So I'm excited about that.
But if anybody in the chat is good, close friends with him, that he'll recognize your number and send him a text.
Yeah.
And tell him he's late for school.
Yeah. Wake him up. He's sleeping. Speaking of not getting any sleep, the Red Bull X Alps is happening right now. And if you've been following it, it's not like the normal Red Bull X Alps. I've never seen Kriegel Maurer actually disappointed. It almost sounded like I was following his live stream on Instagram, and he was talking about it sounded like he was like a normal pilot. He was making excuses and talking about how things were not going good, and he chose a bad line. I'm like, I've never heard the Eagle talking about how he messed up. He never messes up. So he's like, I don't know what the weather does in this area. And so I really like to see him being humble and normal. So some changes happened with the Eagle. This is the first year that he broke up his team. And they say you shouldn't break up a team if it's a winning team, but he did that. And so right now, I just got a message just a few minutes ago. I think he's maybe he is in second place, third place. Yeah. So anyways, it changes by the second. The guys are still in the air. Let's see what time it is in let's see. What time is it in Italy?
It's 9 hours.
3 o'clock in the morning.
So it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
What is it? Red Bull what?
Red Bull X Alps.
XL.
Yeah. So if you haven't been following this, it is an incredible sport. These people fly. So the first one, they flew 1,000 kilometers across the Alps, 1,000 kilometers. And they flew from Salzburg to Monaco. Probably don't know. I know that, know those places. I just remember those names, but they literally fly thousands of miles or 1,000 kilometers, I should say. And when they do it, you have, I think it's a total of 12 days, and then you fly across the Alps, and you either fly, hike, and or run on flat ground. And hey, Nick, glad you made it. I'll let you get your stuff together, your sound and stuff sorted. But we were just talking about the X Alps. So these guys literally, during this race, there's points where they will just decide, I'm going to pull what's called a night pass, and then they will run all night when it's not flyable and try to catch up to their guys, the competition. So anyway, super cool. That is pretty amazing. Do want to mention John Wayne donated $10 to the super chat. I'm always really grateful for any support that we can get for the show. I've got to make a decision. I was just talking to Scott just before the show started, and I have to make a decision on web presence or internet speed, I should say. So I'm a hair's breadth away from pulling the trigger on getting the Starlink, because that's literally I'm on the last option with what I have now. I'm going to have to get, it looks like I'm going to have to get the Starlink thing set up so I can have good internet. Yeah. So the way any kind of business that you run, you should try to figure out a way to have the business pay for it. So we're going to try to have Paragliding Talk pay for it. So your donations are going to probably be going to that.
I was thinking that might actually be an interesting thing, because, let's say perhaps you did happen to get that star business.
Yep.
You could very well,
go camping and still do the show.
State your appreciation for the fact that the internet is working so well, and it's working so well because we have the support of Elon Musk. And,
and then ask him to come on the show.
And then ask him to come on the show, perhaps introduce him to paramotoring and perhaps some of the.
He's kind of quirky.
Yeah,
I think he would do it.
He would totally go for it, and he'd really appreciate the support of our fans checking out, his cars and the technologies he's working on, and
Who do we have? Somebody in our group. They say what's the term? They say
you're only 6 people
6
away from
degrees. 6 degrees.
6 degrees of separation. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're someone in our group can get a hold of him. So
someone's friend knows.
Yeah.
It has his number. So give it up.
Got to make that happen somehow. Get me. I need Elon Musk's phone number. Nick, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it. I know that you're on a mission to come to San Diego. I heard secretly that was happening. So Noah, if you don't, close to Southern California, I should say.
Yeah, weren't you just up in San Francisco, something, or going to San Francisco?
Going to San Jose. Well, it's Monterey Bay to San City.
Yeah, City.
Going there next week.
Rip is going to be there. He's in the chat. He's been talking about it.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, John.
So glad you're here. If you guys don't know, Noah is the president of the USPPA. He also has a podcast where he has 13 million followers. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Successful podcast compared to my mediocre podcast. 13 million. That's like a good portion of the country knows Nick. I had no idea literally until just a few minutes before we started the show, and I went back and I just Google searched. I was kind of wanted to throw some questions out there without most of the time I kind of just want to get to the nitty gritty, but I was like, I'm like 13 million. What in the world? And so anyway, super cool. I want to start off by asking the fundamental question, but then we're going to get right into the nitty gritty. First share with everyone how you got into PPG, and then we'll talk about my political questions.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember how it came onto my radar, but it was about 6 years ago or 7 years ago. I had a motorcycle and I was doing adventure motorcycle riding. And I saw paramotoring, and I've always been fascinated with flying. I had a private pilot license. I knew I wanted to find a way to be able to fly somehow in my life. And I thought, okay, mental check. I'm going to sell the motorcycle at some point and get into this thing called paramotoring. And about that time, Noah called me and said he wanted to go. We were planning a trip down Baja, and he wanted to buy a motorcycle and start riding with me. And so I told him, hey, just so you know, my plan is to sell my motorcycle and get into this thing called paramotoring. And he looked it up, and within 2 weeks, he had purchased equipment and set himself up for training. So I wasn't. Yeah, and I wasn't ready to sell the motorcycle because I had this Baja trip planned. But he ended up doing all this training. The Baja trip came, and we went, and Noah just brought his paramotor in the back of a truck, and I was riding the motorcycle. There were 4 of us on the trip. And everywhere we would stop, Noah would fly, and it was a trike. And I remember very clearly riding my motorcycle down a runway. Noah's flying past me, and I'm looking up at him, and the thought was, I'm on the wrong toy. I got to do whatever it takes to do what he's doing. So that's how I got into it. I put the seat out there. Noah leapfrogged me and got into it, and then I caught up to him about a year later.
Okay, so I'm so confused right now. I've got Nick Rasheta and Noah Rasheta. I just realized that. I'm connecting the dots. I'm very slow.
Okay.
Noah and I are identical twins.
I had no idea. You could have really messed me up right there. I'm so glad that you're very kind.
I would have known.
That has happened our entire lives, and I realized that's what was happening when you started talking about Noah without mentioning that I'm the twin.
Nick.
And so that's funny, but we're both very used to that. We are identical people living two different lives.
And you both fly.
Yeah, we both fly. It's
hilarious.
Funny if you put us on any kind of game that's strategy, it's just not fair to anyone, because it's like two brains that people think we can read each other's minds. It's like, no, it's just my own mind. I'm thinking, what would I do? And that's what Noah would do.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, have you had any experiences where Noah was in the air and you were like, I feel like I'm flying,
Yeah. Couple weeks ago, he borrowed my helmet, my wing, and my motor. And then I was flying behind him, watching him look just like me. And that was kind of trippy.
I'm sure you can mess with a lot of people over the years.
Oh yeah.
Doing something
we can still fool my mom or
Wow.
really close friends over the phone when it's just voice.
Oh.
If they can't see us and it's just
hilarious.
our voice, we can really fool people.
That is hilarious.
So yeah, if your intent was to have Noah on the show, I apologize. It's just me. I'm happy to share my perspective of Noah's world to you, though.
Hey, you don't mind? Do you have Noah's number?
Yeah,
No,
but he's in Mexico right now. Otherwise, we could probably rope him in.
No, you know what? This is even better.
So I work with Robert, and Robert told me he was having you on, and I go, "Wait, Noah or Nick?" He goes, "No, Nick." And I guess it didn't dawn on him that you got a twin brother out there. So yeah.
No, you know what's funny? So I look at the picture and I'm like, it says Nick Thor, and I'm like, yeah, Nick. And I kept calling him Nick, and I'm like, yeah, Nick's gonna be on the show. And then I was like, I went and Googled, and I was like, wait, Noah Rasheta or Nick Rasheta? What the heck? And I started pulling up, and I was like, oh, maybe it's Noah is his real name, but he goes by Nick. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm just gonna put Noah, and then people know Nick, and it should be fine. That awesome. Is hilarious. You know, we have a very similar kind of story with the motorcycle thing, because I had a little it was a 2004 we called it a K4, but it's a Gixxer 1000 GSXR, and the that bike was incredibly fun. You could time travel with it because it's so fast. But when I started paragliding, I was like, I've got to mitigate my risks a little bit, because they're both dangerous. How did you process going from one dangerous thing and putting that away, and then getting into paramotor? How did you process that whole chance of dying thing? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's funny because I've never felt like paramotoring or paragliding is very dangerous. I know it is conceptually, but the way that I entered the sport and the way I participate in it, I feel like I'm doing it the safe way. And I've never felt that. I also have maybe a little bit of a skewed perception of danger. I was in the military. I've been to war. I'm a police officer by profession, and I've done all.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you. I've done all the adrenaline type sports. I've skydived. I've rock climbed. I scuba dive. I surf. So I guess my barometer might not be calibrated to normal.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I've never felt afraid. Although paragliding, I feel like I'm not a real paraglider. Not like good hardcore paraglider people. You guys do things that to me are intimidating. I like ridge soaring.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So my favorite part of paragliding is what I consider the easy stuff. I ridge soar, and I don't mind high winds, but I like the predictability of the wind is doing this to that object, and I play in it, and it makes sense. But thermals, thermals scare me more because I don't understand them as well. It's like invisible elevator rides and invisible drops. And when that starts happening, I usually just say, okay, I've had enough. I don't want to do this style of flying. I like the predictability of the ridge, soar, and the lift from that wind versus the thermals.
Yeah, that is my probably my favorite thing to do, is get in a thermal and just take that ripper right to the top. How much time have you spent paragliding?
I got into paragliding pretty early on, probably within the first year of paramotoring. I started paragliding, and it started with Sand City, like going to ridge soaring sites. So then I I started incorporating equipment for paragliding. I've been to Central Utah, a couple fly-ins there.
No kidding. Free
Yeah,
flight fly-ins?
yeah, free flight fly-ins.
No kidding.
With I think it's Kuasa, Central Utah, Arizona. I forget the name of their group, but
That
when
sounds right.
yeah, when I first went there, it's what's the name? I think it starts with the M. Monroe.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Yes,
yeah, that's the Red Rocks
Red
fly-in.
Rocks. So
What
I've been
year did you
there
go?
twice. Probably
Because I
3 years
probably crossed
ago.
paths with you.
Yeah, no,
I
the
think I
first
went
time
3
Noah and
years
I
ago.
went, oh, that's funny. The first time Noah and I went, we were pretty novice at the paragliding part. And
Yeah.
they were all up on the mountain and everybody's waiting for the thermals to kick in. And Noah and I look at
Yeah.
each other like, hey, what if we just go before the thermals kick in? I just want to do a sled ride. So we did that. We took off and we did our little sled ride. And
which one did you launch from? Was it from Monroe, or did you do the what was it called? I thought it was called like Crest, or
it was
oh man, I can't
the
remember it
lower
now.
one, because
Okay.
I remember there was a high one and the conditions weren't right, and they took us all to the lower one, which was
Okay.
still
Yeah.
really high.
Yeah. That's where we launched from. Do you remember a guy launching and then getting hurt right away? His wing collapsed, orange wing, and he just right on launch fell.
No.
It's one of my videos, but if you go, you would have to go back pretty far to find it. But that was Tony Boyer. Me and him went together. So he took a collapse. He's like 20 feet off the deck, and the collapse went. It popped just for a second back open, just to take a little bit of the energy away before he hit the ground, and then boom, he hit the ground. And so he was worried about his back. One of the guys took him in the van. What's that? You said very eerie. Is that
just watching the way that went down, and he went down, and then it went right at the last second. And it was just like, oh no.
My gosh. Yeah, it was horrid. Well, we decided, we were like, hey, yeah, let's we're just gonna literally go straight to the bottom and pack up and then go to the hospital with Tony to meet him there, because we're worried about him. And yeah, that was that's interesting. So I bet you we flew together, because I just literally shot straight to the bottom, took a 15-minute sled ride straight to the LE, and there were like dust devils even popping when after we were done packing up. And that day was like a 12,000 foot day.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you guys end up flying?
We did the one, and then we switched and started paramotoring. So when you guys would launch, we were at the LZ and we took off and we would fly and then paramotor. So that's also the time they found out that we did not have P ratings. And they're like, hey, actually that's a no. So that prompted us to go get our P ratings, and we did that at Point of the Mountain. Became legit. And then since
who'd
then,
you get instructor from?
I think his name was Steve. Cloud9, is there a Steve at Cloud9?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's who it was.
Steve Mayer. He's been on the show. He's a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool
very
guy.
knowledgeable. Yeah, so we went to him, and I went to Red Rocks again after we did one more Red Rocks, and then I went to a fly-in here in Arizona. Apache Made was the name of the mountain. It was called Cinco de Flyo. And I nice. Did that one. And then Noah's also done one in Mexico, but for me, that's it. All the rest of my paragliding experience has been ridge soaring all over the world, but ridge soaring style. That's the kind I like the most.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably one of the funnest things you can you can do. Ridge soaring is probably because it's so predictable. But I have to argue, thermal flying can also be incredibly predictable. We have at Blossom, we have a spot called Thumper, oddly enough, and we call it Thumper because it will thump you. But it's the house thermal, and it's always there. It's always kicking off. Oh, Hot Buttered Steve donated $10 to the super chat. He said, despite Nick being a police officer, him and Noah were to be incarcerated for decades. However, they were released early because they both finished each other's sentences. The puns. I mean, this guy is a professional pun deliverer. Hot Butter Steve, thanks for that super chat.
Very punny, very punny.
Yeah, very punny. I saw a guy, he's walking on the streets and he's just going up to people and he goes, free puns. Would you like a pun? And most people are like, no, I'm cool. Thank you. Get away from me. But every once in a while, someone's like, all right, yeah. And he'll go, okay, give me a topic. And then you just name something and he's got something on deck for anything you say. And I can't find the guy on YouTube. It was on Instagram, but this guy's it's going to go viral because it's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. So, free flying is my, my bag. I love free flying. I will bust out a paramotor and go fly. Just matter of fact, I got my wing back today. Anything that you've done where you screwed up pretty bad, maybe broke some stuff, or anything you want to share with people that can kind of help them not to make that mistake?
Yeah, the most expensive mistake I've made was actually maybe a year and a half ago. So well into this, it shouldn't have happened to me, but we all get cocky and make poor choices at times, or at least it happened to me. It was an LZ where there was a berm of gravel, and the way the wind was coming, it wasn't like a field. It was just a dirt road. I'm kind of in desert Arizona at a new site, and I knew it was risky, but I thought, I have the skill to inflate the wing into the wind, which is towards the desert, force it into a crosswind, clear this berm, and be up in the sky. And just as I was making this mental assessment, to make it even worse, someone showed up, parked their car, and got their camera out. So now there's this poor decision making and a camera rolling, which locked me into the bad idea. It's like, oh, well, they're going to watch how good I am. So I inflated the wing. It turned me the way I thought it was going to turn me, but it was like 15 degrees off what I mentally assessed. So now instead of running right next to the berm, I'm running pretty much at the berm, but I still thought, okay, the wing's inflating. I think I'll be able to jump and just clear the berm. And it energized. It loaded up, and my last step, I jumped and everything cleared it except one little section of the hoop. It hit the berm, which caused the prop to hit the hoop. And so immediately I knew, well, I'm in trouble. It didn't work. Everything like busted back there, but it was so energized that I flew a good 20 feet, and I didn't want to, I needed to save all the energy for my flare, I didn't want to turn. I had no good option except this bush that was in front of me. So I thought, well, I'm going right at the bush. I kicked my feet out, went in feet first on like sled ride landing, and I didn't get hurt at all. I got very minor scratches. It was very costly. I think it was like a $500 repair situation when I was all said and done. And it was very embarrassing.
You broke up. Did you say 500 or 5,000?
500.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad. That's like a prop in a metal fix.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
It was embarrassing.
That's funny. So the people got it on camera?
Yeah, we got it on camera. I still show it to students. The big takeaway wasn't it wasn't a skill set problem. It was a mindset problem. And I think that's what gets most of us after we've learned how to do this. We get complacent and then we start making decisions that normally we wouldn't make, but we make them because we think we're good enough to make them. And they're still bad decisions, no matter how good you are.
Yeah. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. So let's talk a little. Oh, yeah, we got to spin the wheel. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, no more names in the wheel. I'm just putting that out
No
there.
more names.
While he's setting that up, Nick, do you watch paraglidingtalk.com?
No.
Now you have to.
now I have to.
Noah would have been a good idea, yeah? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
He could have jacked me up.
Where are you? You're in Arizona, right? Or no?
Yes, I'm in Mesa, which is just next to Phoenix. I'm like Phoenix neighbor, basically. Dude, no Phoenix,
kidding. You're Mesa PD?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I have friends in Mesa PD.
We'll
talk after the show. Yeah. By the way, you're joined in moderation. Scott is San Diego PD.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you got family in here.
Nice.
My mom's watching the show,
but I think you blew his cover. So
yeah, I blew his cover. Scott, he just blanked out his screen, but we know where you're at, Coppers.
Are we ready, Robert?
Yeah, go ahead and let it rip. The spin of this wheel, by the way, is brought to you by Calamity Kite Clinic. CalamityKiteClinic.com is the website if you want to get some training on how to ground handle better. If you can ground handle better, you can fly better. And Calamity Kite Clinic will help you to do that. Also, the spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Nebraska PPG is a school in Nebraska, obviously, and you can get some incredible training there. Join Josh Bowden and his team today. Summer is upon us, and those classes are filling up quick. That's Nebraska PPG. There's a link in the description if you want to get a hold of him. I just got a blurry mess here, so you're gonna have to help me to know who wins.
We've got an error in the wheel. I have one person's name in there twice. I did not realize that I had that in there.
Who is it?
The double?
Yeah, who's the double?
It was Miguel. Slow Days.
Miguel.
Congratulations, Slow Days.
Slow Days, John Slow Days.
I had put Miguel in there twice. I didn't mean to, but it happens sometimes.
Miguel paid you off. I understand. You got to take.
This is the first time in how many years, Robert?
You got to take a bribe.
Double the chances. It's fine. Still didn't win. I don't know.
It happens. Yeah, Yeah. Congratulations, Slow Days. You are our winner tonight.
Congratulations. Winner, chicken dinner. John, reach out to me on paraglidingtalk.com. He's won a bunch of stuff from the show over the years, so I probably have your address, but please, I don't save them. I just delete them right afterwards. If you want me to send you your prize, I'm going to be sending you one of those holders and a mirror holder for your throttle and some stickers and some other fun stuff. Please go to my website, paraglidingtalk.com/contact, and then put your information in there. I'll send it over to you. And if you desire more to have a shirt than the other trinkets, then just let me know and I'll send that whatever you want. So appreciate you watching and being a part of the show, along with everybody else that's watching. Yeah, man, what a trip. So I don't want to say I grew up in Mesa, but I spent, I grew up in Phoenix, and then we moved to Mesa when I was a teenager. So I spent some time there. And yeah, it's a little old stomping grounds.
If you ever come back, let me know.
Yeah, my dad just sold his I may be going to this year. I have to make it happen. I'm going to go to the flying circus. I know. My mom's texting me right now. Somebody banned my mom. So if one of the moderators banned mom, you need to let her back in. She's texting me. I don't know what happened.
I think that was Ripa last week.
Yeah, you guys are jacked up. Poor mom. She's messaging on Facebook. It's not going through.
There was one time I actually did that accidentally on a different show when I was a moderator. And I didn't know how I did it. It was on my phone. And I was trying to scroll through the messages somehow and ended up muting Kyle Oakley in the chat. And like completely couldn't text in. And I'm like, oh no, what did I do? Like, how do I reverse it? There's no way to reverse it.
How did you find out?
I mean, it basically said blah, blah. And then people were like, why'd you mute Kyle? I'm like, yeah, I had no idea. Sometimes technology can be a help and it can be a hindrance too, you know?
That is hilarious. So now I'm having some technical difficulties here. Let me see if I can get this back up. There we go. Yeah, sorry, Mom. I don't know why it's doing that. But I tried to look into my settings and it didn't show that you were banned. So you're still okay on my end.
I tried to blame Ripa. He said he didn't do it.
I was going to say, normally I would see her in the chat.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I think maybe. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on, I think. Yeah. So, Nick, I want to talk a little bit more about your instruction. So you are you running a school? Is this something you do as a hobby? Just you teach friends? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. The process of becoming an instructor was also Noah's idea. And he said he wanted to start a school, and his plan was to always do the boot camp style training. And he knew at times that would be a little challenging. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do it part-time then with him. So we both became instructors, and he started the classes, and he would bring them down to Arizona for 8 days, and I would help for about 4 of those days. So half of the course I was there with him. He'd started out, and then as they were getting closer to flying window, when they were going to start doing solos, I'd come in and we'd split the classes into 2 groups, and I would take half, he'd take half, and we'd get people going. So originally that was just going to be it for me. I was just going to do it whenever Noah's here. I'm his like backup helper instructor. But we started to find that there was a niche for people who couldn't do boot camp style training. And if they were local, I thought, well, my weekends, as a police officer, I have Friday, Saturday, Sundays off. I can help on any given weekend. So I started taking on 1 or 2 students on my own and training them on our weekends, just session based. Every session, it was the same curriculum, but a different format. So that's how I started. I still do it part-time. It's not like my main thing because I still work full-time, but I've trained probably around 30 or 40 people that way, just on our own. It's been fun. And then when Noah comes down, I still help him with half of his courses every time.
Where do you guys train at over there? You guys Apache Junction? You guys go to Maricopa?
Yeah, our go-to place was Maricopa, Ak-Chin. It's the Ak-Chin Regional Airport. That's where Mo Sheldon
over
trains.
by Brawhide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they had a nice setup there where you could, a whole bunch of people could arrive, and there was a lot of space for campers, and we would all camp there and then just walk across to the flying site. And recently they shut down the camping part of it. The owner said he didn't want people camping. So Noah and I kind of shopped around for some new sites, and now he has some property in New Mexico. So he's training in Utah during the summer, and our winter season, we're going to probably move it to his property in New Mexico near Deming.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's fun.
And I've trained, just kind of a fun backstory with all the people I've trained. I have trained 2 other Mesa police officers, and I've trained a DPS trooper and a border patrol, and now 3 firefighters from Mesa.
Nice.
So we're
That
getting
is awesome.
A whole group going.
That is super cool. Wow, what a trip. Yeah, Mesa's the stomping grounds. I do want to fly there. I want to go and check out, like, if I could launch from somewhere in Mesa and go fly like Fountain Hills and the some of those Mesa mountains, those flat top mountains. Like even if we went from like Ahwatukee and flew four peaks or something, or 4 peaks. Man, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll do it one day. I'm looking forward to the flying circus.
With that in mind, since people are listening, I have a couple extra motors. They're not really school motors. They're really just my own. I have 4 right now. I have 2 Mosters, 2 mini planes. If anyone's visiting the area and you can show me that you know what you're doing, prove to me through social media presence that you actually are someone who flies, I'm happy to just let you borrow gear and fly with me.
Oh, rad.
If you're a newer person, then probably not. Because it's not school gear. It's just my own stuff.
Yeah. Dude, I may take you up on that, because
if you came,
my dad
for
actually,
example, you'd have gear to fly with me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because we're down there once a year, no matter what. I'm usually down there about 3 or 4 times a year, actually. But not, not convenient if I fly there to, can't really bring a wing or anything. I wanted a free fly South Mountain. You ever done that?
No, I've been up there and I've seen them do it, and I just haven't had the chance to do it. I want to, though.
So I'll tell you this, if I do go down there with my free flight gear, well, I'll have to go and hit it up. I just don't know when it's good, or because you obviously wouldn't want to do it like right now. It's so hot and those thermals are brutal. I bet you'd go to the moon.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on the day. But I've got some connections over there. Yeah. It's not very forgiving. There's a lot of cactus, and looks like your LZ is a little postage stamp. South Mountain, but they've been flying there for years, man. They used to fly hang gliders off there when I was a little kid. And I grew up in the Paradise Valley area, and there was a group of guys that would hang glide off the mountain right by my house, but they're not supposed to. And I remember when they completely shut that down, people stopped doing it. That's a whole another level. My dad owned a house in Mesa. They sold it.
Sorry, Robert.
No, you're good. Where?
I was asking Nick if he's flown Oro Valley and the Biozone, Biosphere.
I haven't. I've flown. Yeah, I flew Picacho Peak area and the Pinal Air Park area. Those are the only down there. Also, it's not Oro Valley, but it's. Have you heard of Wilcox Playa?
I've heard of
like
Wilcox.
So it's near Wilcox.
Or
yeah, the big dry lake bed.
Yeah, I think there's a group out there. I've heard them talk about it. Yeah, I haven't flown it though.
Yeah, it's really neat place, very unique.
Arizona's got all the land, but it's got a lot of cactus too. So not all of it's like, not a whole lot of outs,
Yeah.
There's some good perspective of what it's like to fly there on Tucker Gott's channel. He went there. He's gone there a couple times now. It's beautiful, man. Arizona's beautiful. You just got to be careful when you go there. If you go there in the summer, you're gonna meet the devil. This is hot. It's hot over there. Yeah. By the way, I want to mention one of the sponsors, Lone Star Paramotor. Lone Star Paramotor there in Texas. Ron Tran has a school over there, and they're excellent. If you want to get some training, you're in the Texas area, they have a really good thing going. LoneStarParamotor.com is the website, LoneStarParamotor.com. Also, Max Acro. Max Marion runs a SIV clinic right here in Southern California, Lake Berryessa, if you want to look it up. And he has a website. It's maxacro.com. Go sign up for an SIV. It will be one of the best things that you ever did. It's terrifying. You're going to be scared. It's a part of what we do. But you'll feel way safer under radio training with Max on the radio. He has a calm way of teaching you. You're doing things that to you is like 5-alarm fire. But while he's on radio, he's seen everything. He's very collect, even when things go wrong and maybe you have to throw a reserve or something like that. And just a really incredible teacher when it comes to SIV. Go check out maxacro.com. Also want to mention the guys at Resurgence PPG. Resurgence PPG, if you're interested in supporting our men and women of uniform, you can make a tax-deductible donation to them because they're a 501c3. And by donating, you're sponsoring those guys that put their lives on the line for your freedom. Go check out their website, resurgencepppg.com, and donate today. So your background in skydiving, talk a little bit about how that transferred over when you decided, I'm going to go, I'm going to get into paragliding. Did any of your canopy work transfer over? How many jumps did you get skydiving?
Yeah, I was a very low hour skydiver. The way I got into skydiving, Noah and I grew up in Mexico. When we were 14, our family moved to Mexico, Guadalajara. My mom's from Mexico. And we got our first skydive was a static line jump at, I think, 16. Like we were young. We got parental permission, and we got with the Mexican military guy, and he taught us how to do this static line jump and the whole 5-point roll landing type of thing. So we did that.
PLF, parachute landfall.
Yeah. Yep. So we did this at age 16, super young. Just, we thought it was the best thing in the world. And, but we only did one jump that style before we realized, oh wait, there's this better way that where the parachutes are square and you can steer them. So we met another group, and then we did another 3 or 4 jumps with them. And I don't remember the terms anymore, but from our very first jump with them, we were not tandem. We were being held by an instructor where they're just holding your arm and your leg. And we would free fall for, I don't know, I think we were jumping between 8 to 10,000 feet, 10,000 at the beach. So it was a legit 5,000, we'd go all the way to about 4,000 feet, I think, in open. And so anyway, my point with that is they would guide us in, we would flare and land. And I remember it kind of came natural to us after that first round shoot where you just land and roll, there's no flare. I think all of our other ones, we would land them on our feet or very, very close. So that transitioned to my first paramotor flight. I feel like I just understood the flaring process. And the moment I started, I could feel what that was doing to the pendulum swing. And then I from day one, or from flight one paramotoring, I never didn't land on my feet. Like it just was there. And I attribute that to the little bit of skydiving we got to do as kids in Mexico as teenagers.
Yeah, that I do want to get into skydiving at some point. It looks amazing. I've got an opportunity to do it. I just got to carve out some time. Would you say that your canopy work made a difference? A lot of people come into paragliding and they're like, you know what? They're the skydiving guys that come into paragliding. They'll say the same thing. It's like, I just love that glide and couldn't get enough of that. Some people like to burn it all the way down and then, throw their stuff out right at the last second. Some guys like to jump out of the plane and 2 seconds later throw and take a long glide down.
Yeah, I remember really liking the glide, feeling the silence of after the free fall to the glide, it felt like it was so quiet. And I remember distinctly feeling like, how can I get more of that time? I want more of that canopy time versus the free fall time.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like the addiction right there. They throw that in there.
Hey, Nick, I got an offline question. So, we're Robert and I are here in San Diego. I fly with the Ugly Raptors group here in San Diego. One of the guys, Miguel, he's in the chat. We got quite a few in our group are from Mexico, and we actually fly with another group down in Mexico in Tijuana called Fly Ventures or Fly Adventures, something like that.
Yeah.
And one of the question was, this is the ultimate question. When you travel to Mexico, how often do you go to Mexico? And when you do, how do you get your paramotor across?
Yeah, I go there probably maybe 4 times a year. And I go to Rocky Point, Puerto Peñasco.
Puerto
it's
Peñasco,
about
okay.
4-hour drive from here. The first couple years, I used to go and I would put my paramotor in the back of the truck, totally assembled, and people loved it. We'd cross the border and they'd ask, what is this? And I'd show them pictures and they thought that was so cool. And then we'd go through. A couple years ago, I don't know what happened. There was some kind of switch with leadership, maybe, but they started viewing paramotors like aircraft. And when we'd get through, they wanted registration information, and we'd tell them there is no such thing.
Yeah.
And then they wanted the tax type stuff, like, oh, well, if you're importing it, like, well, but we're not importing anything. We're just coming in and leaving. It's like a lawnmower. It's if I had a lawnmower in the back of my car. So anyway, I got turned around twice, and it was very inconvenient. You don't get in trouble. They just don't let you through. So I had to go park and find a place to put my stuff and then go do the trip for 3 or 4 days, hoping that my paramotor is going to be there when I get back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. One time
I just go home.
I had a trailer, so we just locked it all in the trailer and then paid a storage to just leave it storage for the weekend. One time a friend of mine literally just walked into the desert and put his paramotor in the desert. It was at night. And then the next day he drove back to the border, crossed, went back into the desert, picked it up, and successfully crossed in the day with the change of guard.
I thought you were going to say he just went in the desert and launched and flew over.
I know. I thought he was going to say flew over.
That'd be risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a story just recently of a guy powered a hang glider that flew across. And then I started talking about that story. One of the locals here tells me, he goes, that happens way more than you think. And he goes, I know a guy that has a powered hang glider that he found in the desert and kept.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because they'll bring over drugs, they'll land, they'll do their thing, make their exchange, they get a ride, and they're gone. And then just leave it there.
Disposable.
Yeah. I guess you got it like that.
It's we're finding it difficult. We cross Tijuana. We're starting to go into the declare line. So then we go, hey, here it is. It's just sporting equipment. We're allowed to bring it. It's not a California registration type thing. And then it's like, yeah, let me talk to somebody. Okay, yeah, and then they let you go, and they call somebody and go through the normal line or whatever. But we're trying to find a permanent solution. There has been someone here has been successful, and literally through California registration, through farming equipment, registered it as farming equipment. And they got it like $60 a year, pay registration, and they get across with it. So as long as you get the stickers, I guess you're fine, But since the Vitarazzi, whatever, has a serial number on there and a model number or whatever, that it's possible. But yeah.
So what I do is I disassemble it, put it in the back of a minivan. I usually put a trash bag over the main motor that's visible, and then I just stack stuff around it. Usually next to it, there's always a stand-up paddleboard. If they unzip something, they'll find a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah.
And then
decoy.
Yeah, and I download pictures of people who make their own swamp boats, like people in Florida and the bayou. So I'll keep a couple of those photos ready, and if they ever find the motor, I'll tell them I'm making a boat for the beach, and it's going to be like a powered boat thing. So then, I don't know. I've never had to use that. Disassembling it, I've never had an issue. One time they found it and they asked me what it was, and I told them all of this is equipment for windsurfing.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then they just let me through. But my advantage is I do speak fluent Spanish.
I was about to ask you if you're telling them in Spanish or English.
Yeah, so that puts them at ease when they start talking to me. I think they also they can't take advantage of me as easy, and I can lie much better than they suspect with Spanish.
Well, check this out. And I know we're running out of time here. We fly. One of our guys is Mexican American, so he's American citizen, but he's Mexican, and he speaks great, perfect English, perfect Spanish, whatever. He took his across. They fined him $2,000. They pulled up. They go, oh, Vita Rossi. They look at, oh, this is like $6,000. We can fine you right now. And he went through the nothing to declare line, and they basically told him, they said, had you gone in to declare, then they let you through, whatever. But since you came through nothing to declare, to them, they were saying, that looks like you're just trying to smuggle it in or bring it in. Although it's on the back of his car, clear as day, to see. But it's just the games that they play, or just the ignorance, they don't know what it is, so they don't know how to classify it and whatever. So just be cautious. I think everybody should be cautious about doing it. Walking it across or something, coming from Mexico into the States, they don't care,
Right.
Yeah. Cuidado. They'll take it from you.
Cuídate.
Well, Will Fi donated $5 to the super chat. He said Resurgence PPG rocks. And that is a fact. And this is a wrap. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Nick. Way better show than if Noah was on here. I'm so glad that you're here. And you carried the weight I'm sure your back hurts for carrying the weight of your brother. So thank you for coming on. Hopefully you can stick around for just a couple minutes for the after show. We're going to open it up for you if you're watching, if you're in the chat and you want to come hang out with us. And there's a few questions that we didn't get to. So I'm really super excited that the show was good and it went by really fast. So thanks again for coming on. And I made a new friend, so I'm stoked. Homie from Mesa. Yeah, all the moderators. Thank you, Anthony, Sean, Scotty. Thank you. Really appreciate you and what you guys do. All the guys that have a wrench next to your name, and most importantly, the guys who come every week and support the show by just watching and hanging out. Really appreciate you guys. We're gonna go to the after show. So if I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in there.